It's 5:04, Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Let's do it. Let's do it. Just checking the traffic a little while ago. We had the part of 459 was closed down over in McCalla. That's the part that kind of goes, I guess it'd be southbound, westbound, that goes toward I-20. There were some cars flipped over, big police response. But I just checked the traffic map, and the good news is they have gotten that all clear again. Everything's green on the map, which means it probably wasn't a fatality or a hazmat situation. And those things do happen. Roads aren't looking too bad at this hour compared to how it has been a couple of times this week. I've had two occasions this week to have to do morning traffic on 280, and I forget how heavy that can be with all that construction and everything going on. 280 is actually looking pretty good right now, too. So quick look at that. The weather, the heat, the humidity's backed off a little bit, and the heat, of course, backed off since what we had over the weekend, but it is muggy out there. And the good news, if I'm over here spreading the good news this afternoon, the sunshine, is that there are some computer models that are becoming a little more consistent, that we could get some much cooler, maybe even drier weather in maybe a couple of weeks toward the end of the month. One of these models I saw went down to August 28th. I'll take it. We'll see. We'll see if that develops. So it's not a forecast. It's not in the forecast till they make it a forecast, but it is what the computers are trying to say could be going down this afternoon. All right, let's make sure we're covered all our bases. Again, 545-9950 if you want to get in on the show. We will take your phone calls. Other good news that I started the show with, some of the early audience heard some of this analysis. I'll run back through it real quick. Had a big breakthrough with Canada, it seems. Trump administration decided to hold off on instituting some tariffs, saying that they had been able to pull off some trade talks with the Canadians. And apparently the Keystone Pipeline is back in business. They're going to revive that project that died with Joe Biden's auto pen the day he took office, because these people were just hostile toward oil and gas, which is, I gave this speech earlier as well, just to repeat some things. It's stunning to me that people can hand wring over the price of gas right now because it's high, and diesel just went up remarkably. And I'll talk about that here in a second too. But that people are hand wringing over gas. But what is the alternative to elect a party that is openly hostile toward the entire industry? Do you really think that's going to bring your prices down? The party that tried to close refineries and did, the party that lopped off some of the federal drilling, the Gulf drilling, that killed pipelines, and we're trying to make it harder for you to get that stuff in your tank. And by the way, drove the price up on average higher than it is now. That's your alternative? Doesn't make any sense to me. What makes sense to me is let's press on. Everything is teed up to free energy like we've never seen. Some of that has got to do with the Strait of Hormuz. We find out today ships are moving. The United States Navy is in control of that Big Bend turn in the Strait, and more companies are getting comfortable with those Navy escorts like we did in the 80s, moving right on through. Even CNN had to admit today that the Iranians are slowly losing any ability to threaten the Strait as these talks continue. And by the way, our blockade of their ships is starting to crush them in a meaningful way. At some point, the stronger lion wins in this contest, and I know exactly who that is. So in the meantime, we got these prices. One of the things I wanted to talk about again, too, was I had to do a little bit of homework. And right in the middle of doing the homework, I was listening to some coverage today of the trades. I was on a business channel, and I heard a guy talking about the infrastructure, and it all kind of came together with me. Let me give you this story. So the last 2 days, I pay attention to the diesel prices because I use a lot of diesel. And I always talk about this big giant gas station that's right in my face every time I hit 280. And it's the racetrack station that's right there by the Walmart. That's the biggest billboard in town. It has to be, and it's all new and really lit up. Even though one of its signs is kind of all janky, they got to fix it. But that diesel price has been staring at me, and it went from, in the last 3 days, it went from like $4.99 to it was almost $5.40 when I drove past it earlier this morning. So I was curious. I thought, why would diesel spike like that? Gas is slowly going up. The barrel price is up maybe $10 in the last couple of weeks with the back and forth with Iran. So in reality, based on real world numbers, oil price is not that high. Oh yeah, we'd love to see it back down in the 60s or down in the low 70s, but compared to what's being threatened, the Iranians wanted us to drive to $150 a barrel and hold the world hostage. That did not happen. So it's higher than we want. But why would diesel spike like that? So I started doing some digging on it, reading some industry trades, and the simple answer is this. Let's talk about supply and demand real quick. Make sure we're all on the same page with that. So in any equation, when things are priced in a real world situation like these oil and gas commodities, it's supply and demand. Here in the United States, a big part of our price hikes, even when the price starts to come down, is our lackluster ability to refine both gas and diesel. So our refining capacity is part of the storytelling. It takes longer in these futures prices to move that stuff through the refining process because of the leftist in this country and American Democrat energy policy. The damage they did during the Biden administration and some of the Obama administration, where Obama just was trying to crush, he announced it to the world. Ignorant ass people went along with it, but he tried to crush coal. That's why the Democrats have now lost control of the state of West Virginia because of this. It's just stupid politics, dumb energy policy too. But they did it. They had the power to do it, and they did it. And we've not recovered from some of that loss of refining capacity. But of late, when it comes to diesel, which I've described over and over as a fuel of industry, it's what moves the big trucks. It's what moves the heavy stuff. It's what moves the farm tractors. Diesel is a fuel of industry. We've had an uptick in industrial development, construction, as factories are starting to be built based on all these trade deals Trump has worked on for the last year and a half. And I was talking about a family member today who's got his ear in the trucking industry. He said that suddenly we're having truck driver shortages for the first time in a couple of years because trucking has picked up again. That means businesses are making orders for raw goods and moving things around the country based on these factory starts and these jobs that'll soon be filled in these announcements that were made last year. Some of that had to get built, and it's being built. In the process of building that, there's been an uptick in use of diesel fuel because of industrial growth. That's a good problem to have. It sucks for me when I go to fill up, or you, if you're using diesel right now, but I'll take the sacrifice because down the road it means an improved economy, more reliance on our own industry, and but the two things that are conspiring to make the price go up are simply, again, back to supply and demand. The demand's gone up because we're in a build phase right now with all of it. The data centers, manufacturing. I was talking about LG made an announcement today that they're putting 1,700 jobs into Michigan, Mexico. So a lot of these auto manufacturers are pulling out of Mexico, bringing things home. That stuff's starting to happen. In the real world, not in the theoretical world, in the concrete world, these things are getting built. Ground's leveled, buildings are coming out of the ground, stuff's being moved, demand goes up, but we can't refine because particularly the Biden administration did a lot of hostile things toward the refinement of diesel and the special processes that need to produce diesel, and they've not been able to make the adjustment yet to the increased demand. So when you get a spike in demand, you're going to get a spike in price because they can't keep up. We got to fix that, and it's not going to get fixed overnight because this demand curve is just going to keep coming as the economy improves. And it's one of those, anytime you look at economic numbers, you've got leading indicators and lagging indicators. And leading indicators are when the factories start ordering raw goods and components. That's on the front end of an economic uptick, not the back end. The back end would be eventual retail sales because now that the product's been produced, it's gone through the factory process, it's been delivered, it's on the shelves. So we got different ways to measure activity. And on the front end, if you want to look over the horizon, you got to see what's coming. And so one of there are several categories that investors, when they're trying to watch this, look at. One of those is the trucking business. One of those is trains. Now, many of you know my brother's also a train engineer. I haven't had a chance to check in with him today, but when those two start to move again, when those two are getting bigger orders and the work is picking up, factories are saying, bring it to us. We're about to start making things again. And it takes humans to make that. And when the humans go back to work in the factories and we start producing goods and services, paychecks hit, then that circulates in the economy and that turns into spending of all types. We're still sitting on this fuel price. We're going to be with it. I don't think it's going to change too much before the election because we're less than 90 days out. And then we've got the interest rates, which have been left flat. Most experts believe they're going to leave them flat. There's a little news on that today too. The Feds have started doing the bond buybacks. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds because I'll get over my own head, and maybe I'll talk to Thomas if he's with us at the bottom of the hour. But the bond rates have been going up. That's pressing interest rates kind of upward right now while we're waiting on the Fed to do the right thing. Trump went off on that for a long time in a live news conference earlier today. But what the Feds sometimes will do was repurchase these bonds that the government has sold out there to investors to help create some pressure release. Some people call it a circuit breaker in the bond markets to keep the heat off those rates going up. The stock market loved that news today. So in addition to the Canadian deal, and by the way, the Canadian deal is not only Keystone, it's our farmers. The Canadians have been gouging our farmers for decades with their own tariffs. They've agreed, apparently, at least in principle, to drop those tariffs. Our farmers will be able to sell into Canada without the tariff structure. We become much more free market and back and forth across the border with our products and their products. And I love the American economy and the Canadian economy competing with each other and selling to each other. That brings down the price for everybody. That's how the supply chain from work. If we want the economy to improve, write this down, tattoo it on your arm like Nancy Mace. You got to get the government out of the way. You got to lower regulation. You got to lower taxation. You got to make it easy for competition. We also need to do something about gigantic corporate America sucking everything dry in this country right now. That's less competition. The more companies get so big, they gobble up each other and there's just two of them left, the worse it gets for us consumers. That's true in banking, many industry categories. But if we can beat back that beast, because you don't have a free market if you don't have competition, and you don't have competition if you got monopolies. So we got to deal with that in data. We got to deal with it in a number of categories. But free things up. Let people dream and compete again. Let innovation happen and get the government out of the way. The socialists that are on the rise, it seems, have the right problems diagnosed. They're actually calling a lot of the right things that are wrong right now. They got the most terrible solutions ever conceived by mankind that have starved and killed more people than almost any philosophy in the history of the world. But they think it's new because they just discovered it. And so they're out there talking about it like they've got something that'll work, and they don't. But the truth is, we don't need their solution. Their solution is central control and more government and more taxation. That's only going to make it worse. I started this whole segment with saying, you really going to vote for the Democrats who hate oil and gas and think the price at the pump is going to go down? Are you serious? It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is the strait gets clean, bypasses around it are made. Iran can't threaten the region anymore. New trade pacts all throughout the energy sector are coming online. The world's about to have the cheapest oil we've ever had. It's coming. You can feel it in the wind. Alabama Gold Refinery, speaking of money and things, and here's another commodity that no matter what's going on or who's screwing with what, AGR has a product that everybody's wanted since back in the Bible days. That is gold. Gold is timeless. It holds real value. It's a way to store wealth. It's a way to, in a lot of ways, grow wealth against all this inflation and all these dumb things, government debt and all that. Talk to Steve. He's much more articulate than me over at AGR. And here's what they do. It's an exchange. They'll buy from you. They'll sell to you. They'll trade with you. All of the different platforms or mediums, or media, they have gold, they have silver, they have all of the platinum, all of the precious things in many different forms in the shop too. It's a safe place, security in place that you would expect right there in the middle of Homewood across from the Regions Bank. It's AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. All right, so 523 as we ease on through it. I heard Richard and Val talking about some severe weather tomorrow. I don't see that on my screen, but listen to them in the morning and they'll keep you up to date. All the forecasts will be up to speed. I did see we might have some issues tomorrow night. That could be good. That could be changing of the season that we're all looking for. Let me talk to you about Allen and Company real quick, too. Wonderful sponsor as we move through the year. And we're we're sitting around last night planning some Christmas vacation stuff, trying to figure out, how we can get to all the family and what else we want to do during that time. It's exciting to think about. And just to get you in this warm, actually hot August afternoon, just kind of gets you in the mood. Let's think about what you're going to do with some of your gift giving. If you're doing what I call a big ticket item, buying somebody in your family or somebody you love some fine jewelry, go ahead and start shopping now. Start thinking about it and planning with our friends at Allen and Company. Allen is a wonderful jeweler, an incredible jeweler, very talented master jeweler. And the cool thing is his whole family's working in there with him, and his wife and his daughters and all of those relatives of his that hang out in there. They're so good. They got the right touch to let you shop and think, and you can put something on your finger and stare at it for a while and decide, nope, not quite it. They're so patient. They're not going to hassle you. They're not going to sales pitch you. They're not going to do all the lingo and the gimmicky things that some stores do. They're going to be there down the road, 2 generations in there. You just come back when you're ready. And fellas, it's good for her to pre-shop because she might not know exactly what she wants, but you need options. Boy, don't we? Fellas, don't we need options sometimes? Just tell us what the plan is. She'll do it. They'll work with her. They've got sort of almost I call it a coded way to work with her and you. They call it the wish list. So she can browse and shop and think. You don't even need to be there. Get out of there. Let her just dream a little bit, think on it, sleep on it, and come back. And when she gets exactly what she loves, you can come choose from the list and still get the element of surprise this December. It's Allen and Company for the upgrades. If it's time to upgrade a diamond or the engagement season or just gift giving, pendants and bracelets and all these things. And don't forget the repair side of their business there, because everything stays there. Allen doesn't have to ship things off for work. He does the work himself, gets everything cleaned up, tightened up, stones missing, chains fixed that are broken. Things are going to happen to you, to your jewelry. We wear this stuff and we bang it on stuff and it gets pulled loose. So take it over there. It stays in their vault. Allen's commitment is to try to get it back to you within a week, sort of a working week. He'll get to it as quickly as possible, put it right back in your hand. It's Allen and Company. They're in Vestavia, Highway 31, Allen and Company. All right, let's get on down the road here and make sure I've got all the bases covered. I wanted to talk a little bit. I'm going to double back on the crime and the illegal immigration stories because we got a horrifying story that's been kind of front and center today out of Virginia, where an illegal El Salvadoran from Virginia killed. This kid was only 19. He stabbed a 42-year-old mother to death who was out walking. Now, the cops started the news conference today saying they had some kind of relationship, which is weird too. But he stabbed this woman to death, and he had already tried to escape the country in the past. The Biden administration caught him and released him back into the country. He crossed over from El Salvador during the Biden administration. It's just another example of this. These are no longer in isolation. They are just absolute patterns in our system. And then there's the one that's been in the news the last few days of this guy from Tajikistan that was already being held. He was already known to be a psychopath, was released on mental health issues and allowed to leave the country after he had stabbed his landlord to death. And I think this was also in Virginia. It's just amazing how these stories get stitched together. And then there's the case. I have not kept up with this case of this this mother. What is her name? That's, again, Fox is a little bit obsessed with this Lindsay Clancy trial. This woman killed her 3 kids. But it becomes a compelling case. My first reaction, like your reactions, would be put her in the chair. She killed her kids. But what's happening right now, and this is another one of those things in the news today that has people on both the left and the right feeling some sympathy toward the way this went down because the system, it seems, failed Lindsay Clancy. This woman, according to all the witness testimony, repeatedly tried to get professionals to help her. She was hearing the voices. She knew it wasn't right. She was warning her husband. She was warning everybody in her life. Then she lost her mind and killed her kids. Um, so the defense clearly putting on this sort of insanity defense, but it's brought to mind a debate in our public about how to deal with people that seriously are struggling with serious, dangerous mental health issues. I must have covered, I don't know, I guess in my time as a reporter, at least 4 sensational cases where a mom with postpartum or whatever killed their own kids. I'll never forget one very intense trial that I sat through for 2 weeks of a young Birmingham mother that smothered her kids. She got away with it. A lot of moms do because juries are sympathetic, especially in this case where this woman had a documented history of trying to be on the record of wanting to get help, but the system kept pushing her away. It's a sadness and a sickness in our society that we don't understand this any better than we do. That story will be in the news probably for the rest of the week. Here's the bottom of the hour break. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all. Let's ease on over there and talk to my man Thomas over at Stockton Mortgage. I had a question right out of the gate, Thomas, for you tonight, since you're expert on
Love it.
this. I saw where the federal government's going to start doing some bond buybacks to help take some of the pressure off the bond rate. How will that affect us, the consumers out here, if they do that?
Well, I can tell you what it did to us when they weren't buying them.
Yeah,
That's what has put pressure on the rates because they quit buying bonds several years ago, and that put pressure on rates, which made them go up
yeah,
several years ago. So let's hope that eases pressure off of the rates and puts more liquidity in the market and allows the rates to come down a little bit. So that is a really good thing. So let's. I am hoping that is going to allow rates to come down, and that's what others are thinking too. So that's. I'm really excited for them to start doing that. So I'm really excited for that. And
yeah.
as I was sitting here listening, as I was waiting on you guys to come up, I heard the commercial that I think it was a recording of one of your listeners, and they were saying it was a lady that was saying she loves listening to your show because you and AJ, number one, y'all cut up a lot, which y'all do, which is awesome. I mean, she says, y'all talk about things and y'all put it in plain English, and I think that's really important, not only in political things, but really in everything. And that's, I think that's what myself and our team at Stockton, we try to do on a daily basis is, if people can't understand what you're trying to explain to them, you're just really missing the boat. And if you try to talk over somebody's head, it puts stress in the situation. And our job as professionals, whether it be mortgages or yours as a talk show host, and talking about things is really to make things as clear as possible to put people at ease because we got so much stress in the world as it is in the environment that we live in, that we find ourselves in. People don't need more stress; they need less stress. So
No
our
doubt.
job and my job is really to put people at ease and make them have more confidence in what they're doing and what they're getting themselves into, whether it be buying a home or making that new home purchase and making it as easy as possible. And so that's what our job is, and we take that very personal. And so that's why, number one, you need to find somebody local that you can pick up the phone or you can go to their office and you can sit across, whether it's us here at Stockton, would love to help you, but make sure that you're dealing with somebody that's reputable, number one, and that they can help you and explain the things to you, at an elementary level, and don't talk over your head where you can understand, because I think that's very critical. So I'm glad that I heard that today on your show, because I think that lady, whomever it was, that she said, she hits the nail on the head, as they say. Make sure that you explain things that everybody can understand. And, we just helped. I wanted to say that to start off, but so thank you for allowing me to say that. But, man,
Sure.
we have just helped a man that gave us a call. He had contacted one of those .coms or 800 number places, national lenders that couldn't get him back on the phone. He was he self-employed guy, and he had been working for a trucking company, and he was a W-2 employee but which means they were taking his taxes out, as you know, and then they switched him over to a 1099, which means he's a contract employee, which means he kind of like he's self-employed. And so they couldn't do his loan. They couldn't figure out how to do his loan. So he was writing off all of his mileage and everything. So he wasn't showing a lot of income. So they basically turned him down. He called a couple of other places, couldn't get his loan done. So he heard us on your show and gave us a call, and we were able to get him qualified on our 1099 program, which basically what we are allowed to do. We have a program that we can take the 1099s and basically give him 85% of the 1099 income and qualify him to purchase and use that as the income qualification for him to purchase a loan. And he was able to get him qualified and buy a new home. So we just got him closed up this past couple of weeks ago. And, man, it is, when people call us, they're looking for a solution to their problem. And we were able to help him with that. And, man, it is great to help people and get them into new homes so that they can, raise their families and create those memories. And that's what we're here for. So if anybody's out there that is looking for a solution to the problem and someone that can just sit down and explain things at an elementary level and help them find a solution to the problem, give us a call, 205-859-8859 or savewithstockton.com.
That's good stuff, Thomas. I appreciate all that. Savewithstockton.com. They set that up just for folks in this radio audience, so y'all take them up on it. Savewithstockton.com.
Thank you.
Thanks,
sir.
Thomas. Let me decide, with the time running out, I've got to decide which one of these stories I'm going to go with. Let me do this one because it's fresh, and I may want to go back to the Moderna story as well before we get done tonight. But Trump has confirmed this afternoon that the Republicans, and I'd totally forgotten about this concept, but they're going to do what they call a midterm convention. So political conventions used to be where you would meet and the party officials, delegates from each state would meet and actually decide who the presidential nominee was going to be. For some reason, I started watching this. I haven't finished it, but I started watching this. I think it's on Netflix. I can't remember, but it's called Death by Lightning or something. But it's about President Garfield and how he wound up winning the presidency, and I guess about his assassination as well. And it was fascinating when I first got going on it, and I'll probably pick it up again later. But a lot of the first episode centers around this convention where Garfield wasn't even on the ballot. He wasn't running at all, but he was invited to give a nomination speech for somebody else. He was a member of Congress, but he was invited to introduce another person that wanted his name on the ballot. You have to nominate. In those days, you would nominate from the floor, and they would do rounds and rounds and rounds of delegate voting until they chose a nominee. And based on how we do modern primaries, that might even be a better way to do it. But we don't do conventions. Conventions don't have that function. They'll still vote from the floor, and they'll still symbolically show up, and each state will cast their delegate votes after we've already had our own primaries, and the public has a say from the floor. But we don't have floor drama like that, and probably haven't since but when the Democrats got in a brawl back in the 60s. And don't you smell some of that coming too? Anyway, so the conventions had a function, and then they just became large televised pep rallies, particularly for one party. And they're just giant TV shows. I've been to 4 of them. It is impressive to watch. It's a spectacle, especially on the nights of the big speeches. And I kept going to them until I realized none of those speeches mean anything. Every time I've ever stood there in a moment, crowded by a bunch of Republicans, listening to this inspiration coming from a stage with the whole world watching, thinking this was our time to change something, it didn't really matter. I had to just wise up and go, none of that matters. It's all a show. But it does give you a bump. Sometimes in the polls, there's a convention bump because you get to dominate television news and present your best case to the public. So somewhere along the way, I think Trump's going to miss the campaign trail more than any president that's ever been president of this country. So he's back out there actually campaigning. He's going to red meat states, doing the rallies still to try to help in the midterms. He's sitting on a war chest of almost $500 million that he could start doing some spending on. And I got a note on that too that I thought was funny from last night. But so now they want to do something called a midterm convention. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas on September the 9th. So it's coming up here in just a few weeks. I guess there's no harm in it. There's a lot of money going to be spent. I don't know that the Democrats have any plan to counter. Right now, they're in such a weird circus civil war with each other. I don't even know if they'd want to do it because there'd be this huge fight over who gets to speak. You're going to let these socialists talk, all these rivals edging each other out for the presidency, but they might try to respond and do their own. I kind of hope they would. I need the entertainment value and we need the show content. Put some of their nominees like this terrorist kook in Michigan up there on the stage to speak, or would they not let him speak? See, that's why they can't have a convention. They're going to let this Nixon lady, this Democrat socialist bullhorn screaming lady from down in Florida that got their nomination last night, they're going to give her a shot. She's running against Ashley Moody for the Senate in Florida. They're going to let her have a national spotlight. Hell no. They've boxed themselves in a corner. They can't showcase these candidates. I don't even know who's their most. They're going to put this gay pastor down in Texas who's pretending to be a cowboy now. He's like, "Hi, look at my hat. I drive a truck. I hate meat." They're going to put that guy up to speak to the convention. Really? That's their guy? So I haven't heard anything about a Democrat plan to do this. What they'd be doing, though, is ceding the whole space to the Republicans heading into the midterms by not doing any kind of stunt. They'll come up with something. They're still clever, and they've got the mainstream media on their side, and they got a lot of smart people that know how to showcase and present messages. But we'll just see how it plays out. So apparently, there's going to be some country music. Maybe our boy John Rich will play, and it's going to be September 9th and 10th. And I suppose the next question will be what networks will cover it. Fox will be all over it, but will the other networks give it any kind of play? Because it's not a nominating convention. I guess where I'm sorting that out functionally is we don't do nominating conventions for Congress and for the Senate. That's a presidential kind of thing, president and vice president. And I've enjoyed these things over the years. They do have their place in history, and we'll be having them again in less than 2 years, by the way. We'll be seeing the presidential conventions. But here come the Republicans with this sort of midterm pep rally. Maybe not a bad idea. It depends on how they showcase it. They've done a pretty good job at presenting, so we'll see how the team does. So there'll be plenty of talk about that in the coming days, no doubt about it. Let me talk to you again about Lonnie's Furniture Company. I know we got to get this break in here. The big Labor Day sale has already started. I'll be doing the show there on Friday. If you happen to be around Kimberly, we'd love for you to pop by, take a look at the furniture. Here comes the Labor Day sales around the country, as many of you know, have always been big old mattress sales. It's kind of almost a cliche thing in the industry, but Lonnie isn't going to get outdone by these smaller stores. Yeah, they got a mattress sale within all this other stuff that they're doing. So go to the mattress department. If it's time for a mattress, you will not find a better selection of both name brands and just the number of things on the floor for you to stretch out on than at Lonnie's. And they got deals all over the place in that department. They've got, generally, there is a buy more, save more sale going on. You'll have to look at the chart, man. It depends on how much you spend. There's a scale of how much money you can save. It's an incentive for you to keep on shopping. And then, of course, specific deals on certain items throughout the store. And the fun part is they've already started it. We started this last week. Reggie reached out and said, let's just pull the trigger on it. The furniture's on the ground. What are we waiting on? We're not going to just wait on the weekend and just do it for 2 days. Let's do it give people time to get this stuff done before the holiday. So get on over there. This weekend will be a great weekend to go furniture shopping. It's still hot. There's no real football on yet. Good Saturday to get out there and do that and take advantage of all these deals. Plus, you get kind of early pickings on the selection that's out there on the display floor. It's an acre of selection under one roof. It's the most impressive furniture store you'll ever see, both in quality and the volume of it, and the sweet people that work there. You'll get to meet some of them on Friday. It's Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com, LAUNIUS. Lonnie'sFurnitureCompany.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all. Let's wrap this sucker up. 545-9950 if you want to try to squeeze in here before we get done. Just a couple of minutes left. Crocker Moving Services ready to help you out. You or anybody you know that is trying to move some furniture in all this heat. I tell you, here's a pro tip. Pro tip, fellas. If you got a truck, somebody's going to hit you up to move stuff. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to say, hey, what are you doing Saturday? You should have, I would go over to Crocker and get some Crocker Moving Services business cards. Just have them handy in your truck. Say, look, I'm busy, but here are the guys that can help you. That'll get them off your back. You've given them some good advice. Crocker is a professional moving company. They've got all the tricks and the tools and the strong bodies to get this stuff done and not put it on your back. And this is how you ought to do it. It's CrockerMovingServices.com. Eric Crocker's just an honorable guy, runs an honorable company, and they will just flat take care of you. I had a listener last week. He was a little bit confused, I think, and we had this nice conversation. He was expressing disappointment in Crocker, and I thought, I've never had a complaint in all these years. So I heard him out. He goes, well, they did this and they did that. And I was like, that doesn't sound like, no, that doesn't sound like Crocker. I said, can you describe the guy? And he described him. I was like, that's a different moving company. That's going to happen sometimes. Let me tell you, this company, from the day they came on, sometime around 2019, they have just been impeccable. Eric takes all this stuff very seriously. And I know with us, everything they've ever done for me, I love the way they schedule too, with this 2-hour minimum. And Eric's always been right on the money. If they estimate 2 hours or an hour and a half, that's what it's going to take. They go 3 or 4. They know their capabilities and how fast they can move. Traffic and weather, things like that do get in the way, but this is a wonderful company to get your stuff done. CrockerMovingServices.com. All right, real quick, I saw this. I think it was in Yellowhammer a second ago, but I thought it was kind of amusing because I've seen this throughout my career so many times of politicians jumping in front of money that they want to get credit for that's spent in a community. In this case, it's Shamari Figures. Now, he's up for re-election in the 2nd district. The district was drawn segregation style, which is all these minority districts are. It's straight up segregation. So they were segregated, and he got elected Congress for 1 term, and now he's not segregated anymore. He's got to run mainstream, and he's probably going to get beat. So, but today he's out taking credit, according to Yellowhammer. He's taking credit for some airport funding that he voted against in Congress. So he votes against the bill in Congress because Trump thing. And then when it's time for ribbon cutting day or announcement day, they go stand in front of the ribbon and get the big scissors out. Y'all know how many times I've seen this? Republicans too. I just had a very recent case of a Republican that had nothing to do with some money that came to a district, zero to do with it, but yet jumped right in front of it and put out news releases when the award was announced. I've seen it in industrial announcements. I've been at industrial announcements where me and a crew worked for 3 years with teams of people to make something happen. Suddenly the mayor or the governor shows up. They had not a damn thing to do with it. Terry Sewell just did this too. When the Coast Guard decided to come to Birmingham Southern, she was all up in it because it's all in her district. She voted against that spending bill. They know you're not tracking legislation. They know it. They just want to get in front of the camera. Posers, man, all over the place. One more time for Michelson Laser Vision. I can see these guys with my 2015 eyes because I got LASIK done at Michelson almost 7 years ago. If you're in glasses or contacts right now, I promise you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it. You may get down there and they say, no, we can't do LASIK on your particular situation. Or you may decide for other reasons, it's not for you. But be smart, because if I had done this years ago, I'd have done it years ago. If I'd gone through their training and investigated a little bit and been a little bit curious in my life, I could have saved myself 10 years of wearing eyeglasses misery. Yeah, it was more miserable than you think. Check them out. Michelson Laser Vision, downtown UAB Highlands, MichelsonLaserVision.com. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Stay tuned for Breaking Bread coming up next. Goodbye, AJ.